I wanted to also note that I put some thought into the types of data files that you would need to run each of the scripts, and one of the files that you'll also get is a Excel file that lays out for you the not only the reports but also the objectives, the audit objectives, and also the data fields that you'll need for each one of those scripts. And I did that for all 35 scripts, so you kind of have a full complete audit program and data request, but then we have the scripts for 8 of them today that we're going to be discussing. So to tie it all together, I also pulled together a data request document, this accounts payable data request.doc, and why don't we jump over to that right now so that you can take a quick look at it. I wanted to also provide how you would ask for the data itself and make it simple for you. And this listing out the data requirements from an invoice header point of view. This is the main data table that we use in the payables test set. And it's basically where each invoice is one record. So in essence, we have an invoice number with that invoice transaction, or usually there's a voucher number or internal transaction number. And that will be unique for each record, and there'll be one invoice on each record. These would be the data fields that you'd get. We have some additional questions or notes that we also like to note, and one of them basically noting is that sometimes we can put the data files together a lot quicker than it sometimes takes IT to do it. So you may as well just kind of let us do it, as some of the notes I try to make. Also, this invoice distribution file we'll jump over for now. We don't have as much of a need for it. And then the vendor master file, we'll also kind of note here that this is all of the key vendor information. You definitely don't need all of this information in order to do the scripts that we're going to talk about today, but it does provide hopefully a pretty complete list for you. And then I like to talk about the data type that you'd be getting, which type of format, as well as the structure, and noting it'd be nice to get a data field definition if they have such a thing, which we've noted there. I like to get some data verification info, such as a sample invoice, a hard copy, total of the amounts, and total record count. They can deliver it however they want, I suppose. And then I have some questions that are related to accounts payable. And I don't want to go through every one of these today, just from a timing point of view, but some of them are useful just to kind of get your mind around. One being such as partial payments. That can kind of plague a lot of your analysis if you're duplicating the way you're looking at the payment data. And partial payments is a way to understand that. Another good question, it's right up front here, is the voided check item question, making sure that voided checks are understood in the data, because that can also trip you up very quickly. So let me just head back to the presentation here. And just note, as a last note, that there are definitely some questions that you should be asking yourself when you're validating data. And you can even program this into the analysis, but simple questions. Do we have all the data fields? Is there one supplier record per per record? Is there one invoice per record, as we talked about? Do the values and volumes make sense, etc.? And you could take a look at these. But in looking at this sample data validation, I find that most of your time should be spent in validating data and making sure it's right, at least on the front end. And once you've assumed that, over time you can make an assumption that the data will be okay, but definitely those initial ones we want to spend some good time and validate data as best as we can.